All right. How are we doing, everybody?
Good.
Good. Are we excited for today?
Yes.
Good. Thanks for coming out on this rainy evening. I do appreciate it. My name's Sarah Cawley. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Great Falls Public Library. And we are here to help support you guys in learning and experiencing new things and bringing in presenters and speakers like Tammy to teach us and guide us on our journey through life, basically, right? And now, Tammy is a certified photo manager and owner of 406 Digital Imaging Services, LLC. She is on a mission to help Montana families preserve their cherished photo memories. As a first-generation rancher, Tammy understands the enduring value of family stories passed down through generations. Helping families navigate photo management is her mission. Whether it's printed photos, digital images, or cherished home movies, Tammy offers a range of services like curation, conversation, and scanning. And today she is going to talk to us about how we can preserve our images at home. Without any further ado, please welcome Tammy to the stage.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Thank you all for taking time out of your evening to come and listen to me talk about mastering your photos. So I started my slides off with I am the taker of the photos because I think this resonates with everybody, especially everyone in this room. So I'll just give you a minute before I flip the slide here.
Can I take a picture of that?
Oh, of course, you can take pictures of, yeah, because the credit is on the bottom of who wrote it. You bet. Oh, yeah, a colleague of mine posted it, and I was like, that is so perfect. So a bunch of us have been posting it on our feeds because it resonates with everyone.
Are you on Facebook or just LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Oh, all right.
I do have a YouTube, but I don't have anything on it. So, welcome to Mastering Your Photo Journey. As she said, I'm Tammy Copenhaver, and I want to thank the library for having me tonight to help you master your photo journey. This is part of Save Your Photos Month. September is an initiative, Save Your Photos Month, which is an initiative that the photo managers, my industry organization, started about 8 or 9 years ago. You know, September is kind of hurricane month. My daughter down at Biloxi spent the evening or the night in a bathroom last night because they had tornado warnings. So what the initiative is to educate and bring awareness to the public on the importance and how to preserve your memories. Make sure they're safe. So, without further ado, so there's 5 overarching steps. You start with a goal and you end with peace of mind. There's a few details in the middle that we'll dive into, but that's basically the 5 steps. And I'll dive deep into each one of these here in a second. And on the guide that I show you, that the library made copies of for you guys, follows these steps. But feel free to make notes, ask questions, and we'll go ahead and start. So, what is your goal? What's your why? So this is an important question to ask and to think about. Well, once I have them organized and preserved, what do I want to do with them? You know, are you downsizing? Do you want to condense them? Do you want to pass them on to the next generation? Do you just want to clean them up because you are passing them on to the generation following? There's just all kinds of reasons, and everybody has their own. So thinking about the goal and thinking about what you want to do with them is really key. So you're going to have some basic tools that you want to use to do this. And the first and foremost is gloves. And you can see in the picture I have gloves on. So you can use cotton gloves, and you can buy these on Amazon or like a photo type store. You can get nitrile gloves. You can buy these at Walmart, Costco, wherever. I use the nitrile because I think they fit better, and they have a little bit of tacky in them to where if you're handling the photos, they just don't seem as slick. So you want to wear gloves because even though we wash our hands all the time, handling the photos, the oils from our hands, it gets on the photos. And for the fragile, one-of-a-kind photos, you don't want the fingerprints because it will show. And it really shows, like on our newer glossy ones, the 4x6s, that we've gotten doubles and triples of. So you want to make sure that you wear gloves when you're handling your photos. And a photo-safe pencil. So Stablio is pretty much the brand. I haven't been able to really find anything else, but if anybody did creative memories, you know, we had the blue pencils. The thousands of dollars we spent with creative memories. Yes. So Stablio comes in blue, black, and white. So you can use the white to like write on your hard drives or black paper, but blue or black doesn't matter what color. It just needs to be photo safe. So invest in some of these. You can buy them on Amazon. I think I bought a box of 12 for like, I don't know, $6 or $7, maybe 8. I don't even remember. But I mean, these are what you want to document on your photos with. And then the other things, but the thing I want to, there's two other things I want to mention. The external hard drive. So you may have a computer that's big enough that you can put all of this on your computer and use that as your hub as you're scanning. That's fine. But make sure you have an external hard drive as a backup. Because stranger things have happened. Hard drives have corrupted. You know, things happen. If it's a laptop, a friend of mine spilled a whole cup of coffee on hers and fried it. So, I mean, always have a backup. If your source is your external hard drive, 1 is good, 3 is better. Because 3 follows the backup strategy rule of 3 copies, 2 different sources, 1 either off-site or you can use the cloud as your third as well. It's whatever you want to do, but 3 copies is ideally what we recommend. And then the other thing I want to suggest is patience and grace. Because this is a huge undertaking. It took decades to accumulate all of these memories. It's going to take more than a weekend or a night to organize them and to scan them. So give yourself a lot of patience, a lot of grace, and when you have some successes, pat yourself on the back because it's a big deal. So we're going to move to the gathering and the decluttering stage. So gathering, what we suggest is everything you dedicate one room in your home, ideally with a door. Mine is not in a door, it's in a living room that we don't use, but it's pretty much takes up the living room. And you bring everything together, and I mean albums, framed pictures, digital images, home movies, anything, you know, if you have crates or boxes or anything that you have, bring it all together into that one area, because then it's front of mind. And you haven't spent all this time organizing and gathering, and then go and you find another box of photos, which it can happen. But if it's all together, it's all right there, and it's easily accessible, and you're thinking about it. And I will say that a lot of us have these beautiful magnetic albums. Aren't these nice?
They're horrible, they're acid, they're full of acid.
Yes, they are. Get your photos out of these as quick as you can. That's probably one of me, the twirling.
91.
Yeah, so it eats the photos, it discolors them. If you have magnetic albums, get them out of there. That's all, that's just, and if a lot of people would document right on the album, take your photo safe pencil and you can write right on the back of the image as you're pulling them out. And let's see, okay. So you've gathered it all to one location, you've looked at all your boxes and you're like, oh my gosh. Now what? Other than that daunting, overwhelming feeling that now what am I gonna do? So we're gonna start to sort for clarity. And you're gonna do a few of these things kind of simultaneously. So sorting for clarity it starts off with about 3 things. The removing the unnecessary, and your low-hanging fruit on the unnecessary are your doubles, your triples, your reprints, blurries, things like that, they're the low-hanging fruit and you can easily remove those. You don't even really have to think about it. You want to remove your doubles and your triples and the reprints because when you're doing your digital images, you only need one. You don't need multiples of that image, you just need the one. Because if you have more than one in your digital file, then it clutters that up and it just makes that hard to navigate. So the other thing you're going to do then, once you get past the low-hanging fruit, and I want to mention, if you have a blurry image and it's the only image you have of someone who is special or an event or something, and that's the only image you have, a blurry image is better than no image. So take that into consideration when you're looking through your images. So then we're going to go to the ABCs and the 2-second rule. And I list on the form, on the guide, what the 2-second rule is and what the ABCs are. So the ABCs are, A is archive or album, B is box. So it might be an image that you don't know if you're ready to get rid of it, but you don't want to scan it. You don't want to take the time to put it in your legacy digital collection that you're creating. So you can put it in a box, you can index it just like you're doing your regular legacy collection, but it's not going to be scanned. Your C, and C is not your enemy. C is cull or can, meaning trash. So I have gone through many of our own images of our immediate family, and I take this photo, our photos, at least when I did these in the 90s, we used the photo boxes. So these hold between 900 and 1100, depending on, if you've got negative slips and things in them. And I try to reduce these down now, because I have these for the oldest child, and I have them for the youngest child. And typically they're the same image, because we got doubles. So I try to reduce these down to 1/3, and if I'm really reducing, I try to reduce down to 1/2 if there's a lot of doubles or triples or reprints, because our kids were amazing. We got reprints because we wanted everybody in the world to have one. So that's your C's. You're going to put those in the garbage. It's okay. Or if you just can't quite go to the garbage with them, put them in B. And I always think that B kind of leads to C. So you're going through your collection, and maybe these images that you're going through are old family images, but they're really not relevant to your family. But they might be relevant to somebody else in your family. So you can take those aside and put those in B. Take your index cards that you're going to be using to sort your images and put on here, these are for so-and-so, and put those in B. And then when you're all done, you can send that batch of images to that person, and your B box just becomes a little bit smaller. And maybe in a year or 3 years, you look back at your images and you're like, yeah, they still really don't strike a chord, so I think I can get rid of them because I haven't missed them. So, and another thing to do when decluttering and sorting through the ABCs is you're gonna look through your photos and you're gonna see an image and it's gonna strike a chord immediately. You're gonna think, oh my gosh, I'm taken back to that moment, that time, that memory is immediate. So that might be an S or it might be an A. The S is the story, and maybe you want to take your sticky notes and you might want to write on there that maybe this is an image that I want to make a photo book with, or I want to make an enlargement, or I want to gift it to somebody. You know, that's your S's. Your A's you're keeping, but the S's are the ones that like, wow, that one jumped out at you. So as you're going through, you're looking at your images and you're like, yep, that one's an A. I have some sort of emotion within 2 seconds. Whether it's happy, sad, good, bad, other, or I have some memory of that image within 2 seconds. So that's a definite A. And if there's a story there, it could be an S. If you're going through them, and like all of us, if our kids or grandkids were in sports, you know, when we bought rolls of film, we didn't buy 12, we bought 24 or 36. And then we went through 3 or 4 rolls at whatever sporting event. So when you're looking through and you have, you know, say 100 pictures of a grandchild or a child in basketball, that's great. But do you need all of those images, or will 5 tell the story? So then you can take those other images and you can move them to B. And you can save the 5 and put those in A. Because it tells a story, you're proud of the child, it shows that they play basketball, you know. And 9 times out of 10 when you ask your child, hey, do these over here in this box strike a chord? Are these important to you? Do you want me to keep these? Most of the time the child is going to be like, why do we even have those? So, yeah, so just think of that. And focus on the ones that bring you joy. Don't focus on the ones that don't. Focus on the ones that bring joy, tell the story, or have some sort of an emotion. The other ones, then it's easier to cull. It's not so difficult. So that's just a close-in shot of the Gather Development location. And then that is the garbage can. And it is a tall-sized kitchen garbage can that I've probably filled 3 or 4 times. I know, my mom would just cringe if she saw me doing that. I don't know what it is, but it's okay, because when I ask my kids, do you want these photos? They're like, no. If they're like they are now, no. So that's why we're condensing down to what's really important and what brings you joy and what tells your story. So when your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren are looking at that image, it tells a story. This is important. My grandma thought this was important. So now we're going to organize for success. And this is also, it seems daunting, but I'm going to bring this table over here because we're going to do a hands-on little, so organizing for success. So we'll just do you guys, a couple groups maybe come up, and I'll show you how to do this if you guys want to come up. Because it's easier to do it if you do it, to learn it. I can talk about it all day long, but it's easier to learn if you kind of, so here's a group, here's a group. So what you're going to do is, the backs of the photos really tell a story. So you don't need to turn them over right away, especially these older images. So these are my great-grandmothers. And these are not going into my collection, so we don't have to wear gloves. I know, everybody's
I had butter
we were
gloves.
just told to wear gloves. So you're going to look at those images and you're going to put everything all the same shape, the same size together. So it's like dealing cards. So you're just going to grab a bunch and lay them out on the table. It's like dealing cards.
But we're not going to do it.
Yeah, you don't turn them over. You just do the backs. And you just put all the same size, same shape together. If they have deckled edges, the pinking shears edges, those go in their own pile.
Want some? We gave yours away, huh? So this goes, that's a different size.
Yeah. So you don't spend the time looking at them, you just sort them like cards.
Oh, that's a different size too.
Yes,
I've got that too, the same size.
Yeah, and a lot of people who have multiple generations of images have a lot of this.
I think.
Because they were all different sizes, different eras, different time periods.
Now, is that pinking shears? Is that torn?
That's a torn one. That's the one I was talking about earlier, that she like ripped it in half or something, I don't know.
I had a grandma that would cut people out if she didn't like them.
Really?
I don't know if she ever used pinking shears.
So did you find yourself in any of her pictures?
Yeah, like this is the deckled edge. Yeah, because that's an era of its own.
Now you can only cut your pictures out, but then
I
put
have
somebody
lots of
else in you
those.
like.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes,
There's some more.
all of
It's
us
much
do.
easier with a computer though.
What are these? Are we supposed to?
Nope, those are just, I'll show you here in a second. Okay, so now that we've got piles of the images, so now, still looking at the backs, you grab a pile and you look for consistencies within the pile, looking at the photo paper,
Like single one.
the stamps, any of that kind of, nope, on the back sides.
Oh, the
That's-
back side.
We're not looking at the front yet.
Okay.
So these are all the same because they're the same photograph,
numbers.
the same stamps.
I have
So they
three,
go in a pile.
3 separate groups.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, so that, see, that's a roll of film. That's a 5, that's a 5. So this is not,
Oh,
so this is a different roll of film.
these have pencil on them.
This is a different roll of film. This is a roll. That's a roll. That's a roll, that's a roll.
Okay.
So what that does is then when you flip them over, you've got typically a series. And it helps you date them because you're looking at more than one image at a time. Yeah, so like that one is a dinner with all like blurry pictures.
These are all different.
Are they, yep, they are.
They are, yeah.
But the stamps are all,
They have stamps, but.
yeah, so then put your stamps, like you're saying. Well, you don't need them in numerical order, but like those are the same processor probably.
And how can you tell that?
Because the ink is the same.
Oh,
And then if you don't have stamps, look at the paper. So the paper might be, yeah, like the paper that says Veloy paper,
yeah,
or
but
it could
these are in
have
the lower
Kodak.
right-hand corner and those are.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
it really depends on how you have it.
Does
No,
this
not
go
when you
with-
turn it around
like
and
these
the
have
numbers are
nickel
upside
edges,
down.
so-
yeah, no, and that's a roll of film.
Okay, that's the same one.
That's
What
the
about
same
this
one.
then?
So that's a different roll of film. That's a
Different number.
Different number. Yep, yep. And if you're lucky enough to have the negatives in the original sleeves, and you have images with the numbers, you probably will be
Do
able
you
to
know
match them.
We still
because-
have negatives.
And that's better to have the negatives.
Yeah, so in
And I've
this
just been trying to
box,
get rid of my negatives. I just have this little picture, so.
so my great grandma was married more than once. So for us to help date her pictures, I put everything out by her last name so I could figure out the dates.
Whatever works.
Yeah, but see, this roll of negatives has a stamp in it.
Oh,
Ah,
So we were able to
I should.
put the images with this negative sleeve, and it dated it because I knew her last name when she was that last name. So it's just a way to date the images, and so you can look at them, and you can say, oh, that might be 1940s, or that might be 1950s. Some of them are going to have the dates printed on the edge, so that's the date that they were developed,
Right.
not taken, but it's probably going to give you a year or a decade that you can move with.
Have you seen the photo books where they get them developed and they're put into a photo? Have you seen those?
Yeah, just a book made up of pictures.
Yeah, from the roll of film.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen those before?
Shutterfly does that, for
No,
example.
no, like from the 60s.
At the time they're developed.
Yeah.
Oh, the little books.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And you have to either tear apart the book or, yes, yes. My grandma had some of those too.
Okay.
Or they give you the normal size one and then the little one.
Yes.
The bonus.
The bonus, yes.
Ground
Yeah.
photo,
Yeah,
Minneapolis.
yeah.
I found all my
So
stuff
this
there.
is just a little way, it's kind of like putting the puzzle together. So then you take your consistent images, like these are all the same processor, all the same paper. And you can say, okay, that's a trip to San Francisco, probably, you know,
1968.
yeah, late 60s, early 70s, late 60s.
It's stamped on the back.
Oh, is it? I was like,
What would you do
oh,
for
July 68, I'll be darned. Look at that. Yes, but that's going to help you date. So you're not, when you're doing this, you're not looking at, you know, because our tendency is to turn them over and do it one at a time. And then we get lost. So turn them over, look at the backs, and sort them by the size. And then move forward, because it gets you over that hump of, oh, this is going to take forever.
I have like boxes and
Yeah,
boxes of.
so,
We should do that.
yeah, so that's the little hands-on that I wanted to have you guys experience. Yeah. These ones, this one is, yes, this one is, it probably just doesn't have a copy. You want to get this to Leo. It doesn't matter if it's blue, it doesn't matter if it's black. White isn't going to show, but blue or black is fine.
And a graphite pencil won't work?
You can use graphite as well, the soft lead. Yeah, soft lead. So while we're doing all of this, so we're doing a lot of things kind of simultaneously. So we're sorting for clarity, we're doing the ABCs, we're doing the 2-second rule, we're sorting by size, and then when you're sorting by size, you're laying them all the same direction because it's going to save you time later, and then we're going to document. So this is where your pencil comes in handy because you want to document the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, why. And it doesn't have to be a book. It could be Uncle Tom Smith, camping, 1965. You know, maybe he's camping in Glacier. I don't know. If you have the location, that would be great. If you don't have the specific year, a decade is awesome. Because those of us in the following generations are going to be so excited there's even a decade to have reference that photo. So don't get stuck on it has to be month and year. Decade is perfectly fine. The other thing I will suggest is that you do a family timeline. And that doesn't necessarily mean like genealogy, family tree, but a family timeline of really important events. We had a collie dog between these years and these years. We went on a family trip to Europe this year. We did something exciting and, you know, went camping a lot this summer. I graduated this year, I went to college these years, I got married this year. Anything that's a major family event, write that down. And you can do, it can be a variety of ways. Some people use Word documents so they can keep it in chronological order. Some people use Excel, so it's easy to sort. Some people take the brown paper that you can buy like at Staples and run it across their table and start from one end and go to the other, and then hang it up. As much as we don't think we'll use it, you'll use it a ton. Because you'll be looking at your photos and you're gonna be like,
What year did we do this?
yeah, when did we do that again? And you can look at it and it's just right there, and then you're not having to try to rack your brain, and you can move on to the next thing.
That's why we wanted to tell that.
So the family timeline is really important. Yeah, I have my clients do it as well. So preparing your images to be scan ready. So you've done all of this, you've set them all into the same shape and size. So then you're looking at your index card. I'm just gonna grab an index card here. And what you're gonna do is these are all the same shape and size. Here's your index card, you're gonna write on here, and then you're gonna write anything that can help you create a file name on here. And you're gonna put the cards, your images behind it, you're gonna use a photo box or whatever you're using to continue your organization. But I will say to have all your landscape images facing the same way and all your vertical images facing the same way. So when you go to scan them, you're not doing a lot of post-processing because your images are all, this one's rotated this way, this one's rotated this way. They're all, whether they're landscape or vertical, are all gonna be similar. So it just saves you time as you're scanning them. So that's part of that. And then the residue, you want to use, a soft cloth. If it's a really sticky thing, you can use Goo Gone. I would test it on some photos, but we've had great results with Goo Gone. And remember the Creative Memories glue sticks or the glue runners that we could use? Some of those you could hang a truck from. So Goo Gone has been really good with those. But you want to remove any residue, especially if you're using an auto feed scanner like I'm going to show you, because it will clog up the wheels and then you just have a mess. And you want to scan all the same shape and size at a time because it will scan better. It will give you a better scan quality.
So you're saying scan everything, don't put them in photo notebooks or?
Scan them first. I don't use photo notebooks, but a lot of people really enjoy looking at a photo album.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want to do, scan them first, or scan them as you're putting them in the photo album.
Okay.
Yeah. So digitizing standards. So I was talking early on that our industry recommends 600 DPI to scan images. Like I would scan these at 600 DPI. DPI, PPI, I make a note over there. DPI is dots per inch. That's usually talked about when you print, and PPI is pixels per inch, which is usually talked about when you scan because you're scanning pixels. They're used a lot interchangeably. You'll hear PPI, DPI, and they're really talking the same thing. Unless you're talking to somebody who's ultra techie, ultra geeky, they're going to be, then they might not be talking all of the same thing. So, prints and images, or prints and memorabilia at 600, and what that will help you do is, if you want to make an enlargement or you want to put it in a photo book, you can stretch it without it being pixelated. Usually a 3x5 or a 4x6 at 600, you might get an 8x10 out of it. Usually it's double the size. So a 4x6, you get double the size. At 300 DPI, you're gonna get a 4x6, and that's it. It's not gonna, it doesn't have enough scan resolution to really stretch or to be bigger. So you wanna watch that. And these are the two scanners that I recommend. So the Epson Fast Photo Scanner, and I have it down there on the bottom, it will scan, it's a workhorse, it will scan 40 or 50 of your images at a time. That's why I say have them all facing the same direction. It's about $500 or $600 at Amazon. So it's an investment, but if you have a large collection, it's worth it. The only thing it will run little tiny wallets all the way up to 8x10s. I wouldn't put portraits through it because I don't know what it is with portraits, but I've had it to where you can see the rollers as it's feeding through on the portrait. So I would use a flatbed, which is this on the side over here, the Epson V600, which I have both of these scanners. The V600 is a flatbed, and so you can put the portrait on the glass, and it will do the scan. You don't want to put really fragile images, like if you have images that might be ripped or have a tear or some wrinkling in them, and they're, you know, the only image you have, I wouldn't run those through the fast photo. It would probably be fine, but if you have a flatbed, I would do the flatbed. And the flatbed will scan negatives, it will scan slides, and it will scan pictures. So it's pretty universal. And you can get trays that you can scan, I think, 12 or 16 scans, slides at a time. I've seen that. But I use the V600 a lot, especially if I have fragile documents, memorabilia that, like certificates that are, you just don't want to take any chances with. Old letters, yes. It is a great machine, and so is the Epson. And the Epson also will color correct your images. So if you have some images, like in the magnetic albums, they turn red and stuff. A lot of the images, depending on how the processor or the developer did it with their chemicals, some of them might be turning red and stuff. So you could run it through the Epson and it will color correct and give you the color corrected image. And the other great thing that it does is it scans the backs. So all that documenting you've been doing on the back side of the photo scans when you're scanning it with the Epson. So that information,
So that image comes through with back and front both?
it will come through. So what it will do is it will give you the image, whether it's color corrected or original, so that it'll, and you tell it what you want to file name it, which I go into in a little bit. And then it will give you an A, which is your backside. And you can set the sensitivity, because a lot of times we don't necessarily need the stamp to show. This would show because it's pretty dark. But I'm just trying to see another one. Like this one is kind of light. You can set the sensitivity to where it might not pick that up, because you really don't need backs that don't have information on them. But if you have photos that you've taken the time to document the 5 Ws, you want that scanned with your images. So, and the other thing it will do, the Epson is a workhorse. It will allow you to date your photos. So say you're working with 12/25/1975, you can tell the Epson to date all those images 12/25/1971. So what that does is it puts it in the EXIF data, the metadata, the unseen information on images. So if we ever upload them or we do something with those photos, a lot of times cloud services will sort your images by the date taken. So the Epson will date your images. It's a cool feature. It's a really great feature. And because when we're scanning our images, they're dated today. Because today's when we created it. Yeah, so it's just a good thing to remember. The Epson, I will say, you need to clean it often, and a soft cloth will do that. But there is a deep cleaning function in there that you should do every so often, especially if you're doing a large collection, because after some time, you might not see it right away, but you'll be looking through your images and you might have a streak on your image where it's indicating that it needs to be cleaned. And a lot of it is, you know, if you have them from the magnetic albums, the residue. I mean, you might think you've got all the residue, or there's dust, or just a myriad of variables.
So how do you clean it then?
So it opens up. The top of this, where the Epson label is, that opens up, and you can take a soft cloth and clean, maybe some alcohol and clean the wheels. And then there is a video on YouTube that goes in depth on how you can clean it in depth, which you want to do every so often when you're scanning a collection. And it's usually on sale during Black Friday or Prime Days. They'll have these on sale. So if you're not in a rush and you can wait, It's a great way to purchase them. The V600, I want to say, is about $200 to $300. But like I said, it'll do photos, negatives, and slides. So it's kind of a all-in-one, but it does a really nice job. So that's those. Do you have, anybody have any questions on those?
What if you have a tin type machine?
A tin type?
Can you scan those at all? Can you,
So,
because I've heard that they're light sensitive. And
yes. So I camera scan. I've actually moved away from using these and I camera scan. Tin types, I don't know that I would put them with the V600. Even,
Well, I probably wouldn't, yeah.
yeah, because those are so fragile. Yeah, and the Ups and Fast Photo, like the old portraits that are on the cardstock, they're mounted. You can't run those through the Epson either, because they won't feed. You can run Polaroids through it, but you can't run like those.
So those card rooms, you need a regular.
You would need a flatbed.
Because
So,
I do have a lot of those.
yeah. Well, if we've inherited generations worth of images, a lot of times you do. You have some of those older ones that are on the cabinet card or on the mounted paper. Yeah. So the flatbed is what I would use.
You said you camera scan, so
I do.
you take a picture with your phone and
No.
then scan it?
No, I will, and there is the ability to do the picture with your phone. There's an app called Photo Mine that allows you to scan with your phone and it will color correct and stuff. It's not going to do the resolution like the Epson or the way the flatbed would do. But what we recommend was
Photo mine is an M-I-N-E.
M-Y-N-E. M-Y-N-E, yeah, photo M-Y-N-E. But what we recommend is like if you're at a relative's home and they have an image that you really want, but they won't let you take it and scan it, you can scan it with your phone. It's kind of the one-offs, but we don't recommend doing a whole collection with it. Because even with your phone, that digital image is better than no image. So, but you can do the phone, it's just, we don't recommend it for a large collection, especially one that you're passing on to the next generation, or the 2 or 3 generations, so.
And when I do one with my phone, it's hard to get it squared like this or anything, and I have a rack thing from the kitchen that is about this tall, and so I set the picture under it, and then I line up my lens through it,
Yes,
and so everything's
even.
in the right planes.
Yeah, because having it level is really important to get a good image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the black and whites go through the Epson lens.
Oh yeah, these will go through that fine. Yeah. I've scanned a lot of these with the Epson. Yeah. That's why I say you want to make them all the same shape and size because it gives you the opportunity to post-process and rotate them the right way. And if they're all kind of the same way, that post-processing is just faster for you. So.
On the V600, you were talking about slides, because I have a whole bunch of slides.
Yeah.
To what size would they?
The resolution, they'll scan up to like 3,000 or 4,000. Yeah, they'll do the job. Yeah, to where you can make beautiful reprints and enlargements from your slides. Yeah, it's time consuming because it doesn't do them very, very many at a time, but.
So now that slides were mentioned, I've got to ask about the ones that, a long time ago, you held them, there was a thing, you could put a slide in and you could see the picture if you put it in this thing that had light behind it, or you could hold it up to a lamp and you could see the picture.
My dad used to have one of those.
The view boxes? Yeah.
I'm wondering how do you make a picture out of that? How can
You have to scan it first.
You can scan that?
I
These
probably
are
scan it.
little, they're like about that big, and they got cardboard around, hard
Yeah,
cardboard.
yeah, I have a mold actually that I use to isolate the one. You're not gonna get, because the negative is so tiny, you're not gonna be able to probably do huge reprints with it, but yes, you can get an image of it. But and that's how you're gonna have to do your, with the slides and negatives, is you gotta scan it first, and then you can get your prints.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yep. They think of everything. So the file names. I mentioned it just a little while ago. The Epson allows you to do the file names. Both machines allow you to do the file names. The only difference with the Fast Photo is it will do the folder as well as the file. So your file name, your folder will be the same as your file name, only it won't have the extensions. But you want to have descriptive file names, so when you're looking at your images, you know what they are. Or somebody else looking at your files knows what they are. Because image 7, 9, 10, 11, that's how our images are on our phones now,
Yeah.
and we don't know what they are.
No.
You can't tell a thing about what they are.
You have to
But
look.
if you do a descriptive file name, you can tell what that is. And I did a lot of examples where I used year, month, day, and I used examples where I used year or decade. Use whatever you have. Try to always do the date first, because our computers search by chronological by default. I try to do year or decade, the primary subject, and then if there's a person, the person is next. So like on that one, graduation. You typically know, say that we have a month day on that one. You could also just say 1981-05 graduation, Tom. Or if it's college, you could use the college letters, MSU, UM, whatever it may be, to signify it's college. Family travel. Just try to be as descriptive as you can, but you don't want to be too long. Because if your file names are too long, after a while, it just seems they get corrupt. Like you'll copy them or whatever, and they'll be like, this file name is unable to be saved or transferred. It's because it's too much. So I say like 36, 40 characters at the most, and that's with the extension, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you only know the decade, use the decade. If you know the year, month, day, awesome. But
What's the 001 for then?
that's your extension, that's your sequence on your images.
Okay.
So it'll be 01, 2, 3, 4, 500
With the same title.
with the same title. And the Epson Fast Photo will also do a folder, and I have a slide on that too. But yeah, so the file name structure is just really important. And when you're scanning, you have the ability to really control that. So then when the next person looks at those images, they can see what they are without having to click on every one. And this is a really important spot. So this is the backup. Remember I mentioned you have the external hard drive, and ideally 3 is the magic number. As you're scanning your images, as you're organizing and you're putting them in your photo box, or however, whatever you're using with your index cards, you're scanning that batch, and then you scan the next batch, and you scan the next batch, and you're moving through whatever you're using to organize. When you're done with that day, back up that work. Because it would be so awful to be working for a week and then have something happen and all that work is gone if you don't have a backup. So ideally, 3 is what we suggest. So 3 copies, 2 different sources. It could be 2 different external hard drives, 3 different external hard drives. It could be 2 external hard drives. the cloud. It could be your computer, an external hard drive, and the cloud. It's however you want to do it, but 3 copies. And then this is the family structure, the final archive structure that I was talking about. So you're going to have your hub, your family archive folder, and then you're going to start with like your years. Say if you have 1950s, you're going to start 1950s, and then you're going to put everything that's in the 50s in that folder. And then in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. If you have, you know, like 1990s or 2000s when we were taking a lot more pictures, and depending on how granular you're getting with your organizing, you might have a lot of folders. So instead of saying 1990s, you might have 90s, but then inside that is a folder 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, and you move them in that way. So it just depends. And you can do this as you're scanning, or you can just put everything into a folder, have it all scanned, and when you're all done, then you can create this. When you know what you've got when you're all done. So this is just kind of before, during, and after. It's kind of hard to see, but that's a photo box where I have all the index cards. And as I'm scanning a batch, I just scan that batch, move it to the back. Scan that batch, move it to the back. Maybe have a piece of paper folded, you know, so you know where you left off. Because there's going to be a point in time where you're going to have to put that on the shelf because something's come up, or, you know, you're not going to be able to do it all the time. And then this is what archival storage can look like. If you want archival storage, they have the ability, you can get containers that either hold like 1,000 or hold like 2,500. And the archival storage is museum quality. It's beautiful stuff. It's built so it will withstand just about anything. But the nice thing with archival storage is a lot of times we have 5x7s, either reprints or our ancestors had 5x7s. And instead of having those in a different folder or having them get bent, the archival storage can hold up to a 5x7. So you can have these size of prints, you can have 4x6s, and you can have your 4x7s all laying. And they're built in such a fashion that the lid won't collapse down and bend your images. So you can get archival storage in a myriad, well, I guess this company is gray, cream, or black. But if you have a lot of portraits, a lot of 8x10s, or bigger portraits, they have flat boxes that you can get with those. And I should say that as you're going through your images, and you have a lot of, like, any of us that had kids in school, the school pictures, all the tons of those. So, maybe you have a 5x7, or maybe you have an 8x10. Keep the largest one, and you can see the rest. Or B, but C is, because you only need the one digital. And if you have an 8x10, it's going to give you the most opportunity to do something with that print, should you want to. So as you're going through any of your images, keep the largest one that you have a lot of reprints or extras of. So now you've done all this work, you've done all this simultaneous work, you've organized them, you've sorted for clarity, you've documented, and now you have the peace of mind. Now you have an organized collection that's organized chronologically, and it's safe. So I don't even want to say an unexpected disaster, but if that should happen, you have a digital copy. It's safeguarded. Now you have the digital copy. You can make photo books, you can make photo gifts, you can hand it off. It's a great Christmas gift. It's however you want to do it now that it is a digital form. You can put one of your copies in a safe deposit box, or put them in a different house, or however you want to do it. There's cloud services out there. The opportunities and options are endless. I will say that if you don't have the ability or want to do your own scanners, check with the library because they will oftentimes have scanners that you can reserve time and take a batch of photos in and do it that way. It might take a little bit longer, but the library is here and it's a great resource. If you're like, tag, I'm out, you know, tap, I'm out. You can go to the photo manager's website, thephotomanagers.com, and up in the corner it'll say Find a Pro. You can click on that. We are worldwide. There's photo managers that do just about everything, and you could go on there and look and see if that's what you want to, you know, if you want some help. During Save Your Photos Month, the photo managers they're doing a lot of YouTube lives where they're instructing colleagues from all over the world, are teaching classes, and they're on YouTube, I want to say every like Tuesday and Thursday. And you can go on, they're free, just go on, you can watch them. They have a YouTube channel. There's a lot of information on there, a lot of resources. Use the resource. They have a great YouTube channel with a lot of information. So that's there. And then if I get stuck, I usually check out the University of Google or YouTube.
Something I know, when you were talking about those archival boxes, I used to work for a museum, and I learned that you never, especially all the photos that you have hanging in your house, they all have cardboard on the back of their photos. Acid that will eat through your photos.
That's why a lot of times after time, they're changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's eating and just the photos are
You're
deteriorating.
seeing something completely different with work.
Yeah, and a lot of people think, well, if I put them in a plastic container, if I put them in a box and put them in a plastic container, they'll be great. Well, if we're in any kind of moisture, they can't breathe, and then your photos are stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're
I was
ruined.
gonna say, I have photos where they're stuck to the glass.
Yeah, and a lot of times what we do is we scan the glass and all.
It's in,
I have an original photo.
Instead of ruining the photo to take it off of the glass, we'll just scan it as it is.
that's good to know.
Yeah, rather than trying to scrape it off and ruin it.
Yeah, because there's.
Especially if
not
it's a
lot
one of a kind.
Yeah, there's not a lot of them that was like.
Yeah.
It's like I have a one of a kind. I have the right backing on it. I actually have a spacer as well as the UV protection glass on it.
Yeah. It's really, the archival storage is really kind of a game changer if you're planning to pass your collection on. Or maybe you're downsizing and you want to, have your photos, you've downsized, you've decluttered your images, and now you have a shelf you can put them on, and the archival storage is so pretty. It just looks so nice. So a little about me. Some of you know, I'm a mom and a grandma. That's the girls. I have 2 daughters, 2 granddaughters. We are first-generation ranchers as of 2020. So when most people our age were buying second homes and beach homes, we decided to start a cattle ranch. And work harder than we've ever worked in our life. Oh, it's kind of funny. And I say that I'm like Lisa at Green Acres because we went into this with no knowledge, no education, no nothing. And we lived in Helena. It's not Manhattan, but where we live now, it's pretty big. And then I am a certified photo manager, a privacy advocate, so I try to help individuals enhance their personal privacy and data security in our digital world. And just recently, I became a legacy preservation specialist, so I did extensive training and learned about that. And I will say that, when we talk about decluttering and culling our photos, one thing I learned with the legacy is the goal with a legacy collection, now don't get mad at me, is when you're culling your images, to save 10 to 30 of your best images per year. I know, doesn't that seem a little drastic? So go for 50 or 100. But, I mean, that's our trick, that's what they're suggesting. When you're trying to create a collection that tells your story to pass on, is 10 to 30 per year.
You don't want to have 30 grandchildren in like some people do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I will also say, when you're documenting the story, and if you run into images that you're looking at, and there's an event or a story or something that should be passed on, that somebody's not gonna know, you know it, but somebody else isn't gonna know that, take a piece of paper and write it down, and scan it with that set of images. Or if you don't wanna write it down, and you have a smartphone, turn the video on your smartphone, maybe have it pointing, if you don't want it looking at your face, have it pointing as you're going through the pictures, and tell the oral story. Because those of us that are going through family history, that is so treasured to have your voice and that story. So keep that in mind as you're documenting the 5 W's. I say to keep it kind of concise, but if there is something that needs to be told or something that should be told, write it down or record it. Your family will thank you.
Or get your mom or grandma to say the story.
Right, yes, yes. So, whoops. Oh, my computer's like. Oh, it's not. So I guess, and that's and I ask you to complete the feedback questionnaire. It really helps me. I did this presentation on Tuesday and then went home on Wednesday and like redid all the slides. So perfect.
Where do you live now?
So we are north of Hingham. So Jody and
We went to high school together.
yeah,
Oh, Rudyard, you might know where Rudyard is.
yeah, Rudyard. Yeah.
North of Hingham.
Yeah. So our house is actually 15 miles from the Canadian border.
No, I'm from the other end of the state, but it's not too much farther than that from the Canadian border.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that's where I was from.
Yeah. So
The northeast corner?
Larsland.
Is it near Freud?
Near what?
Freud?
Where it's more east.
Oh,
We're
So, and my
about
dad-
10 miles north of Nashua.
oh, Nashua. Okay. So my dad's family was from Culbertson.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's right.
Culbertson,
That's
Freud.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So the small town is definitely.
Do you also preserve old family films?
I facilitate that. I don't actually do it. The equipment to do that is very expensive. And so I have colleagues that are experts in it.
That's good to know.
And in fact, I just sent off a batch today for a
I'm sorry, I
client.
was talking, what was it?
Family,
The films,
Films.
the real
Oh,
reels.
yeah.
The real reels.
Street Age or whatever it was called.
Right.
Yes.
Real
Yes.
reels.
Movies are really out there.
That website you gave us, would that be a good place for us to look also for like if we have old VHSs, not VHS, but like we wanna videos, all those different digital camcorders that.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
Photo Managers is a great resource. And you can look by state, you can look by VHS, however you want it. We are worldwide.
Okay.
We're all over the US. Yep. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Vocal recordings,
So audio recordings? I can do audio recordings, yeah.
like
Yeah.
a reel to reel.
No. So reel-to-reels are,
You could do, but not. You could do it cassette recording.
yes, cassettes, VHS, those kinds of things. But reel-to-reels are estimated by foot.
Oh,
So, and you can get an estimate on that, and if they have sound, plan on doubling it. Because what they have to do is when they do the reel-to-reels, they do it frame by frame by frame by frame by frame. and then if it has sound, they have to mesh it. So that's why I don't do it, because there's experts out there that do it.
It's just sound, it's not actually.
Yeah, and they would probably be, my people would be able to do it.
So then what do you end up with? A digital?
You would have an MP3, you would have a digital recording, you would have an audio.
On
Yeah, you could have it on a flash drive, you could have it, external, however you want it, yeah. So, a lot of people say CDs or DVDs, those are very old technology. So I wouldn't suggest ever saving anything to a CD or a DVD, and if you have them, never, 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 never put a sticky note or anything adhesive on the top of them.
Really?
Because it will, when you peel off the sticky note, it peels off the coating, and that CD or DVD is toast. It's done.
So you use flash drives?
Yeah, flash drives are great. Flash drives are really great because they are compatible with either a PC or a Mac. You can interchange them very easily. So we use USBs a lot in the business and external hard drives.
I have an MP3 found of my dad, which we were all surprised that we actually found it, and put it on flash drives and gave it to both my sisters, and they were just thrilled.
Oh, because when I give my clients, their converted movies or whatever, I had one who wrote me, and she says, I have all the feels, I've cried, I've laughed, it's like, okay, so that's why we do what we do. Yeah, it is, it's all the feels, because you can see the face and you can hear the voice. And even if all you have is the voice, I did one where the grandparent was interviewed, I want to say by NPR or something like that, and so they had the interview. It was really great, but they had the voice. So it's so important. We don't think, like, our kids, right, like my kids are in their 20s and they're like, yeah, whatever. It's not important yet.
They'll get there.
So I
Right.
did a DVD with my son on the news. He did a weather report for the news and put it on a flash drive.
Yeah, so you want to take your CDs and you want to put that information digitally or on a flash drive or in your digital library. The library hub that I showed you, you want to be able to, you can add anything to that. And if you have an external hard drive, if you have a 1 terabyte, it'll probably handle everything you have. But ones I'm finding are kind of hard to find, to where 2s are kind of the common one now, and 2s are plenty big. You can put all kinds of information on 2s. So just, don't have several, try to have 1. Or, the 3, but the 1 source. So if you have a lot of flash drives and things like that, consolidate them.
Well, then, if I add stuff to my computer, then I have to remember to add it to the other 2.
Yes.
Did I already do that? And then sometimes I end up
Oh, I
with
know.
duplication.
And there is, that's a whole other session.
Are you coming back to do another session?
Digital organizing is a whole other, but there is software out there that will help you.
Okay.
Yeah, there is.
So Sarah set that up?
You got it.
So can I answer, did you find it valuable? I just kind of lots of information, so.
Tammy, is the next slide your contact information?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't we go to that so these guys can write it down? Or take a picture.
You're so good. Yeah, and I do have cards somewhere.
We're down here.
Oh, here they are. Yeah, you want a card? Thank you.
That's something.
Yeah. You betcha. Oh, thank you. Thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you for the Great Falls Library for having me.
I got a card already.
Great.
And I got it on here.
Oh, you got, yep. And it's on the tip guide, so, yeah.
I love that everybody came out today. Thank you so much for coming out. Tammy has offered to be a resource, obviously with the cards that she's handing out and just being here today.
Yeah.
And we do have the Great Falls Genealogy Society upstairs on the 3rd floor inside the Montana room. So if you guys do have other questions about tracing your genealogy or how to process, they might not have all the answers, but they can definitely help you out if you needed some in-person assistance.
Yeah, the library is a great resource. Use it. It's really, yeah. And if you have, maybe you have delicate memorabilia that you want to have a digital copy of and you don't have the ability to do that right now, I mean, use the resource. It's great.
And if you have something that you feel like might need to go into Cascade County history, go to the History Museum, because they would obviously like to know about that as well. Thank you guys again for coming out. We do have a lot of programs always going on here at the library, and we are partnering with the Alzheimer's Association to assist with the Walk to End Alzheimer's on Saturday, September 14th. If you guys want to walk with us on the library team, please feel free. Celebrations start around 10, and then the walk starts around 11. Other than that, stay tuned on our website. We'll probably bring Tammy back for other programming. And thank you all again for coming out this
Yes,
evening.
thank you. Good job. I really appreciate it. So, it's part of Save Your Photos Month. We want to educate as much as we can.
Yes, you never tell me if they got it or not.
Well, and I think Ellen did too.